went to high school from fall of 2009 until spring of 2013.
What has changed about Manitou since you went to high school here?
I think it's a little bit of everything has changed, but nothing at the same time. I think there's obviously a lot of new teachers. So there's only a few familiar faces on the staff, and there's things like homecoming is still very similar, and the community and the culture pieces of it. But with everything, with time, things have changed, and I think that it's a sign that we're still moving. If we came back 10 years later and everything was the exact same it was, I'd be a little bit more concerned.
Yeah. What made you want to teach?
Yeah, it's been a roundabout circle to get back to teaching. I worked in a high school from fall of 2016 to spring of 2018. I worked in a high school as an AmeriCorps volunteer in a role that's similar to what our paras do. And at that point I really enjoyed it, but I wasn't sure if it was for me. When I got my master's in public health, I worked for a pre-collegiate, so a program working with students who were interested in careers in healthcare. And so I still got to work in that education space without being in a school. And when I came back home, I wasn't teaching at first, but when I filled in as the long-term sub for sports medicine, it really reminded me that I enjoyed working in a classroom and working with young people. So I kind of got pulled back in after a few years of trying to figure it out.
What is something that you carried on from high school?
I feel like a lot of things, and I think had you asked me before the last couple years, I would have been like, I'm a completely different person from high school, and it's all different for me. But coming back and kind of going through the process of like deciding who I want to be as a coach and who I want to be as a teacher, I've done a lot of reflecting on those pieces, and a lot of it has come from what I learned from my teachers and my coaches. And so I think servant leadership is something I learned in high school that really stuck with me in all areas, work, not work, across the last 10 years, the last decade.
Yeah. What advice would you give to future students, like rising high school or just many years in the future?
Yeah. I think the high school experience is what you make it, and as you go through it, it's really easy to focus on the negative things, and I think that's just kind of how life goes. But the more you do and the more you invest in this experience, the further you get from those things that are harder, the more you realize that there were some really good things and there were some really good people. So taking the opportunity to try new things and really invest yourself into those things that you do, that's what's going to make the difference down the road.
What was your favorite experience from high school?
I think when I was thinking about this question, and also just thinking about high school, my whole experience really revolved around sports and athletics, and I think that's where my friends were. Those were the fun things, not necessarily just the games, but the trips and the stuff that we did after practices, on road trips, the traditions, the community that we built within that experience of being on a team. Those are the things that for me will always stand out the most.
Thank you. I think that was our last question.